That's a great feeling, right? To be involved with NBN, because over the years I've got to know NBN and its people, and it's a very exciting day to be involved in this company. And today's announcement certainly is a great moment.
When we look ahead, there are so many exciting things coming up. How do you feel it's suddenly taking over at this time with birthdays and telethons and things coming up?
Well, with the 21st birthday coming up, it's going to be an exciting year for NBN in Newcastle. And of course, the telethon is another great event that is about to happen, and it couldn't happen at a better time. And I feel that NBN, if ever, has a great year ahead right now, and it's very exciting to be involved with it at this moment.
And of course you're going to work towards maintaining the hunter orientation of the whole thing, the Newcastle feel?
Of course, that's going to be part of my job, to see to it that NBN remains a Newcastle hunter orientated company in the immediate future.
The club was put on a solid footing by its original secretary, Paul Trisley, in its early days. It seemed, in fact, that he carried it on his back. He was forced to resign due to the pressure of the job. Former state goalkeeper Dave Maguire took up the position, and he too proved to be an excellent official. Last night, he resigned. He says for business reasons, but there are rumours that there is more to it than that. President Harley Dixon is certain to announce tonight to the club meeting that he too is to relinquish his position, once again for business reasons. Neither man will say more, but they both are reputedly disenchanted with the present direction of the club, a club with debts of in excess of $50,000.
At the recently established New South Wales Equestrian Centre at Lochinvar, the new German settler arrived today to improve the breed of the locals. He's Ludendorff, a German stallion of the Oldenburg breed, the first in the state. Mr. Rob Mitchell and his wife Judy purchased Ludendorff for about $35,000 to mate with the 13 thoroughbred mares in residence at the centre. His purchase is another significant step taken by the Mitchells in their establishment of the Equestrian Centre, also the first of its type in the state. The $600,000 project has 3 stages of development. The stables represent the completion of Stage 1, with Stages 2 and 3 involving the building of the giant indoor equestrian arena with personal accommodation quarters and restaurant expected to be completed before the end of the year. But perhaps today's arrival of Ludendorff was as an exciting event as any for the Mitchells in the progress of the centre.
Yesterday we picked up Ludendorff, the Oldenburg stallion. He was released from quarantine today.
What's special about Ludendorff?
He's a German warm blood stallion. He's the first Oldenburg in New South Wales. There are 2 others in Victoria.
And what do you hope Ludendorff's going to do for the centre?
Well, we hope he will eventually produce an Olympic Games team.
Today, the Hunter Valley Region Special Olympics announced the 2 local representatives who will compete in the international games in Louisiana in July. They are Helen Barber, 16 of Maitland, who will compete in the swimming events, and 17-year-old Carol Powell from Cessnock, who will represent Australia in athletics. Both were selected from 140 competitors who took part in trials conducted at the Tocal Agricultural College. They were conducted to select 3 New South Wales representatives who will make up the team of 8 in the Australian squad. The International Special Olympics caters for the intellectually handicapped. The only problem now facing our 2 local representatives is finance, and local organisers are hoping for community support in raising enough money to cover their airfares.
That's right.
cases where surfboard riders have been stabbed and badly cut by surfboard fins prompted strong reaction from two doctors who head the hospital's intensive care unit. Dr. Owen James and Dr. Peter Moore have come up with their own ideas about a safer surfboard fin, and they tried them out today on two Newcastle surfboard manufacturers. It's along the lines of a tunnel fin, an idea already tested, but after long discussion the two local manufacturers agreed to give it a go. They'll attempt to design a prototype which will eliminate some of the dangers of the sharp-edged fin.
Some of the things we'd like to do would be to change the fin or directional piece of equipment which is on the board in order that it wouldn't have a sharp edge. A few suggestions have been made and we'd like to build a prototype and see how it goes.
The point was made today that legislation may be needed to get young surfers to use this sort of board, considering that the fins are changing all the time, the design is changing all the time.
Well, oftentimes if you build a better mousetrap, the world meets its path to your doorstep, and we think if we can produce a better characteristics of directional stability and perhaps even speed through the water with a safe fin or directional tube or whatever, the legislation won't be necessary.
This map shows where the proposed roadway would go. The road, if built, would cut through bushland backing onto Kirkdale Drive, Grayson Avenue, Vista Parade and Princeton Avenue. The residents of those roads say any destruction of that bushland would ruin their lifestyles. The people of Princeton Avenue say they already have a main road going past their front doors and they don't see why they should have to put up with another one out the back. Last night's protest meeting, called by the residents of Princeton Avenue, brought an overwhelming response. In fact, there wasn't enough room inside the Katara South Sports Club to accommodate the 400-strong crowd. The meeting was chaired by Newcastle's Deputy Lord Mayor, Alderman Don Geddes. Alderman Hughes from the Lake Macquarie Council assured many of the protesters when he said the road was still only a twinkle in someone's eye and was unlikely to eventuate. Despite the fact that there were some people at the meeting in favour of the road, the crowd voted overwhelmingly to oppose it. The opposers intend to get the portion of the bushland owned by Lake Macquarie officially declared reserve. They also resolved to get together to do something about their area's traffic problems.
At the centre of the dispute of what the Fire Brigade Employees Association describes as updated facilities at Fire Headquarters in Cooks Hill. The unions waged a running battle to have two men manning the control room at all times. The Board of Fire Commissioners wants only one on duty at night. But the union says that if all 12 duty firemen are called out, the control room can be just too busy for one person. Adding to the difficulties are an outdated switchboard and control facilities. A new centre has been promised, but firemen say they're tired of waiting. It's been 3 years since the promise was made.
We'll have to find another map.
Lines fully extinguished, one FIR and bushfire tanker over.
Received 11:13, 254 off channel 2.
Today, as temperatures soared, there was a graphic illustration of just how busy the control centre can become. One call to grass alighted Hexham multiplied into 10 calls. And suddenly there was a need to direct more appliances to the area. Fire was centred in the swamp, away from most of the property, but its racing progress showed the need for fire services to be able to respond quickly. At first, the fire was bearing down on the coal dump at Hexham, but then a wind change sent it racing in another direction. Throughout the day, firemen all over the area were facing similar situations. Fires burning in tinder-dry grass and bush, fanned by varying winds. Their efforts to put out the fires were not interrupted by the industrial dispute.
The Innocents is a tale of mystery and the supernatural, adapted from the Henry James novel The Turn of the Screw. In it, an idealistic governess comes to a house which she immediately believes to be inhabited by spirits which seem to be influencing her two young charges. In true mystery fashion, the play reveals little, leaving it up to atmosphere to win over the audience. It's extremely difficult on the stage to conjure up spirits without making them look ridiculous, but director Nola Wallace and her backstage crew succeeded in making the audience gasp on a number of occasions and kept up a good sense of dread throughout the play. Still, I think The Innocents was more powerful when the spirits were imagined and anticipated rather than seen. Catherine Hill, as the ever more hysterical governess, gave an extremely well-controlled performance in a play that gives her little time to develop a character, and young Jason Rapp, as the young boy, extremely well developed the sense of being possessed. He was quite chilling. The Innocents isn't a particularly good play, but with fine set and lighting, some good performances and understated direction, Newcastle Reps is a good production of a potboiler.
The announcement that KB United Soccer Club is deep in debt follows the sudden resignations from its president, Mr. Harley Dixon, and its secretary, Mr. Dave Maguire. Both men say they resigned because of pressing business commitments and for personal reasons, but both intend to continue their involvement with the club. Last night, about 50 people met at Adamstown Rosebuds to hear what was to be done to save KB United. The plans involve a complete restructuring of the board to include representatives from sponsors Tooth and Company, the Northern Soccer Federation and Adamstown Rosebuds. And this year, in an effort to boost gate takings, the team will continue to play all its home matches at the Sports Centre. Next week, Mr. Paul Newmark from Tooths will take over as president of the soccer club. The current acting president is Mr. Ivor Thirlwell. He spoke to Sharon Hay.
Well, we're in an extremely difficult financial situation. Along with most sporting clubs, this occurs from time to time, and it occurred mainly because of the dropping crowd last year when we weren't in the top four of the competition. The crowd stayed away, and we were 50,000 down spectator-wise on last year than we were the year previous.
Mr. Newmark, you're likely to take over the presidency of the club next week. What are you planning on doing to bring it out of debt?
With the help of Adamstown Soccer Club, who is a licensed soccer club, we can use this as a registered office. The Northern Soccer Federation behind us, I believe that we could form a board to get the people back, the supporters here, because they've got a home, somewhere to train, and I think it'll be a good thing for Newcastle.
This year's show officials are hoping for a record crowd of more than 30,000, but today things got off to a bad start with weather conditions making it difficult for everyone.
What jump is it?
There were problems right from the start in the main ring this afternoon, with organisers battling strong winds to start the show jumping. Today's event is seen as a warm-up to the main programme. This year, Maitland Show has attracted some of Australia's top show jumpers. Competitors have come from Western Australia, Queensland and even New Zealand to compete for a total of $6,000 in prize money. It's claimed to be the richest show jumping event in the Hunter Valley. To add to the attraction, Maitland Show has brought out from England one of the world's leading course designers, Mr. Alan Oliver.
Today rather is a warm-up day, just to get horses coming onto a new showground and get them going, get them jumping nicely, give hopefully the riders and the horses confidence, and then you can hopefully produce bigger and better things towards the end of the week for the Grand Prix.
While things look deserted this afternoon, officials are hoping the crowds will pick up tonight for the crowning of the Miss Maitland Showgirl and a fireworks display.